Hey, all you space cats. Welcome to the Black Hole Podcast, Season 7, Episode 21. I'm your host and presidential candidate, Mitch Miller. I am the most neutral person in the world, possibly the most transparent, and I'm a free market entrepreneur. But we don't live in a free market. That's why I started this podcast. And we don't live in a free market. Here's how corporate communists do business, right? Let's break this down. There's a startup. They have a good idea. Startup, that's a big hot button word here, startup. They have a good idea, and the corporate communists feed them just enough money to secure the patents, copyrights, and trademarks that they need. And once they're in perfect position to corner the market so that nobody else can compete with them, that's when they go public and get a huge legal team behind them and make the millionaires and billionaires a bunch of money. Right? That's the corporate communist system. That's what they call that's what they say capitalism is. They're schemers who corner the market, right? That's not competition. If you set yourself up to be the only supplier of an item or service and can take legal action against anybody else that might try to compete with you, that's cornering the market. It's scheming. It's not business. And they corner the market using the laws passed by corrupt politicians. Then they don't want to pay taxes to a government that created these conditions and is trying to feed the poor like the Bible says, right? That's the corporate communists. That's the corporate executives. That's corporate communism in the United States. Now, I, on the other hand, I'm a house painter / handyman, handy person. I do business by establishing relationships with customers. I do a good job, I do good work, and they get called back. I get called back to the same customers. I establish relationships with customers, do good work, and get called back. That's business. That's a free market. Scheming is not good business. It's not a free market. It's cornering the market, using the law to end all competition. Capitalism is supposed to be competition-based. Moving on, full disclosure, I want to tell you that I did find myself in my community church where I grew up for my niece's baptism a few weeks ago. So I said I'd steer clear of temples and churches and anywhere where a millionaire or billionaire could pull me aside. I can assure you that no millionaires or billionaires were present at this baptism, nor did they have my ear to further scheme and scam and involve me in their schemes and scams. All right, I want to talk about a proposal for the interstate highway system because they're putting these autonomous vehicles on the roads, which I'm largely against. I think it's insanity. 1-ton vehicles that can be weapons. They're putting them on our roads, and this is our chance to come together and get a program that doesn't necessarily counter autonomous vehicles, but it says, look, if you're going to do this, then we want this system, right? I'm sure most of you are familiar with the autobahn in Germany. It's their highway system. It's their interstate, inter-province, whatever they call it, highway system. But they designed it in a way with bank turns and things like that you can go any speed you like on the autobahn system. I'm proposing a similar system. We come together and propose a similar system in the United States. So this program, drivers would take special training and a special test above and beyond what the state required driving test is. They go to special training, special test. Once they pass that, they pay an extra fee and they can go any speed they like. Now the course would be like the driving test in Scandinavia, like you have to do a controlled 360-degree spin on ice. I'm talking a serious course, to make sure these drivers are as close to professional drivers as we can get. Like I said, you pay extra for the program. We'll say $100 per year. You get a transponder that syncs with police radar, right? When the police tag someone going 100 miles an hour, if they have the transponder and they're part of the program, the police can then waive that, let them go past. There'd be certain parameters for this program. You can only drive any speed you like in good conditions and at certain times, so it can't be raining, snowing. You can't drive any speed you like during rush hour. That can be voted on 7 to 9 a.m. in the morning, 3 to 6 p.m. in the evening. When the school buses are out, when the rush hour traffic's out, you can't go any speed you like. And here's the condition, right? You have these autonomous vehicles. There are deaths and fatalities due to these autonomous vehicles on the road. And that's what we're talking about here. I hate to be blunt, but it's fatalities, right? Now, one fatality from an autonomous robotic car is too many, in my opinion. But if you're just going to let this happen, if the United States is going to allow these things on the road, then our program, where we can go any speed we like on the interstate highway system, will only allow the program if it stays under the total number of autonomous fatalities. So members of this program, the fatalities caused by crashes with people involved in this program, that number of fatalities must stay under the total number of fatalities due to autonomous vehicles, right? So if we get close to that number, the number of autonomous fatalities, we'll suspend the program for a year, right? Until those autonomous fatalities go up more, because they will. And then that'll free up space for the program to roll out again. Look, I don't like talking about fatalities, but that's a cut and dry situation we're dealing with here. And you're just sitting back and allowing these autonomous vehicles on the road. So please, get behind this program. Now, if you know the history of the interstate highway system, the poor and minority communities, especially around the cities, they were leveled. They were displaced, poor minorities were displaced, and houses were leveled to put in the highway feeder systems and the interstate systems around the cities. The best example of this is a man by the last name of Moses. He was a New York City planner back in the 50s, 60s. If you look into him, you'll see the most egregious examples of how the wealthy people dodged getting their houses displaced and how they ran these systems right through the poor communities. So to rectify that, to attempt to rectify this situation, all money raised through this interstate highway system program will go towards solar panels on the shoulders of the interstate highway right in where it runs through these poor communities, right? I talked about this in the last season, how our interstates, the shoulders could be solar panels. So we want to incorporate this program in the poor and minority dominated communities to provide them with some free electricity, and possibly this can fit into the infrastructure that I propose, where you can make money off your house, individual houses. So these poor minority communities can form co-ops based off of these solar panels that the government installs on these highway systems that feeds these communities and reduces the cost of electricity in these communities. So I would push for Congress to draft a bill to roll out this program, and while we're at it, I would also require car companies to ensure that the autonomous features in their vehicles are on separate circuits and fuses. That way, if you don't want autonomous features in your vehicle, you can pull the fuses and those systems will be disabled. No power to them. You have to engineer your vehicles in this way. The vehicle can still function as a normal vehicle without the autonomous features. Now, I inherited for a time my grandfather's 2005 Ford Explorer. And here's an example. The anti-lock brakes were acting up, the sensors were acting up. I tried to disable that system. Every fuse I pulled on the anti-lock brake system either didn't disable the system, or the one that did also disabled the speedometer. So I could not disable that automated anti-lock braking system so that the brakes just function normally. You'd have to pump them when you come on ice or something like that. I could not disable that without losing my speedometer. So these engineers, these car makers, they incorporate these other systems into these autonomous systems, and you can't override them. We're going to change that. We're going to make a bill that allows you to pull these fuses and the vehicle functions and operates normally without autonomous features. That would be part of the bill. So please help me pass this program in this bill. As president, that's one aspect that I will take to free up the highway system and get vehicles on the right track again. Now, I want to talk about something that's you're going to say is a conspiracy theory, or you're going to instantly dismiss this, but it's a fact. All right? TVs and monitors, computer monitors, even your your cell phone screens, they are emitting wireless waves right into your face and right into your brain. Now, at the beginning of TV, those old tube televisions fired electrons that heated up phosphates, and yeah, there was some radiation, there was some bad stuff coming out of those TVs, but we accepted it. We were getting fact-based news, information, so we accepted that these TVs might have been a little bit dangerous in our homes, right? But it's 2024. Shouldn't we have the technology to create monitors, television screens, any screens that emit only light? They only emit light into your eyes, right? It's 2024. These screens are emitting wireless waves onto you, and we have no semblance of a fact-based media system. This is the definition of insanity to me. Now, you can prove this. I can prove it. I tried to prove it. Is all you need is a pocket radio or a cheap radio, $5 radio. I have mine. It says Armatron All Sport. It's a yellow pocket radio. It only takes headphones. It doesn't have an antenna. It's got an internal antenna, and that's what you're looking for. Something with a not great antenna, because then a lot of these FM stations or AM stations come through as static only. So turn on your radio to a station that only plays static. You can only hear static through it. And then take your radio and wave it across the front of your television or your computer monitor or any screen that you want to test for this. And you will find that the intensity, the loudness, the frequency of the static increases as these wireless waves interfere with the inner circuitry of your pocket radio. Okay? Now, anyone can do this. I urge you to try it. Why are these screens emitting wireless waves into our faces and into our brains? Now, my theory is that the corporate communists are conditioning our brains to different frequencies so that we don't question them, so that we complete tasks for them. Who knows what their ulterior motives are, but I believe they're conditioning our brains to different frequencies. So that voice in your head that you identify as your conscience, right? That voice in your head, it might actually be a corporate supercomputer somewhere out there on the wireless network, right? Your conscience might be handling damage control for the corporation you work for or for corporations you're highly invested in, right? So that's the theory. They're conditioning our brains to different frequencies, and your conscience might be handling damage control for your corporations. You know, that's why I'm appealing. Well, number one, look, if I put this theory out there when I was in a mental hospital to a psychologist, do you think they would have got a pocket radio and checked to see if I was telling the truth? No, they would have whacked me out on 50 milligrams of my medication. I'd be a zombie somewhere in a mental hospital. That's why I bit my tongue and I'm talking about this now. And I'm appealing to the celebrity community. They're using the content that you performed in. These corporate communists, they're using this content that you performed in to brainwash people. Okay? What other excuse would there be when we have the technology for screens that only emit light and they're emitting some kind of weird waves out of them? All of them. They're using the content, the performances you acted in, performed in, to brainwash people. And look, I'm not asking for you to endorse my presidential campaign. I'm asking you to hear some ideas I have to deliver televisions that don't emit as many wireless waves or any waves out of them, just emit light. Hear me out. Listen to my ideas. Please, contact me. If you're in the celebrity community, contact me. Do the test. Get a cheap pocket radio. Set it to static only and wave it across your favorite television screens or computer monitors. It's the only explanation that people are being conditioned to different frequencies, that they're being brainwashed. That's the only explanation. Look, we are building humanoid robots and putting 1 or 2 ton autonomous robotic vehicles on the roads. This is insanity. This is crazy. What other excuse could there be for people not waking up and saying, we're not going to allow this to happen? So please contact me. If you could share the podcast, please, I would appreciate it. And until next time, I wish you peace, prosperity, and homeostasis.